And this is CIA, Contagious Influencers of America. I'm David Sams. I have with me today my good friend Tim Storey. Tim, of course, is the life coach to the stars. He's the author of phenomenal books like the Miracle Mentality.
Gosh, Comeback and Beyond.
You're the comeback king. You're the world shaker of world shakers. You're the guy that set me up with therapy 3 or 4 years ago that changed my life when you told me, man, you got to get out of the land of regret and move on with your life. You've been a great friend. You're so inspiring for so many thousands of people around the world. You've spoken in 80, 90 countries.
Yeah.
I'd love to see your passport. Do they still stamp it everywhere you go, or are those days over?
Everywhere you go. And because I travel so much, obviously, David, I've had many passports.
Yeah. Different last names?
No, same name.
Are you part of the CIA? Yeah, well, you are. You're a contagious influencer of America. So, hey, listen, I just wanted to do this at the top of the year here because, here we are, 2025.
Yes.
2024 is behind us. The pandemic's in the rearview mirror, and now we're moving forward, and boy, are we ever. So I just wanted to get your take at 2025. How are you looking at things a little differently this year?
Yeah, I think that obviously we can all learn from the past. I feel that 2024 was a real year of transition and transformation for a lot of the friends that me and you know, because me and you are dinner buddies and we dialogue about this. And I find that a lot of people had what I call life interruptions. It could be in their health, could be in their finances, their jobs, their relationships. So because of a life interruption, they had to have change in their life and positive transformation. So we're all going through recovery and discovery at the same time. So I'm believing that 2024 was maybe a year of recovery for some. But I also believe that 2025 is a tremendous year of discovery. And that is God bringing a lot of goodness to our lives.
Well, it certainly is a different world. I mean, just the whole impact that AI is having on all of us, and in many ways, and for us in many good ways. People always want to look at the negative to these things, but I suppose 100 years ago, the guys that were driving or had horses and buggies were really ticked off about cars, and especially the guys that scooped up the poop off the streets from the horses. They were out of work, so they had to pivot.
Oh yeah. So I like how you're bringing this up because for those of us that are over 50 years of age, there's so much change going on. I remember a friend of mine the other day, he said, we were talking about a subject, he goes, let's just look it up on Chat GPT. I'm like,
Hey, by the way, I told my doctor that once a couple months ago when I went in, my cardiologist, and I said, well, here's what AI has to say. And I pulled out this 27-page thing on what I needed to do. The guy goes, oh, no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
So I think that any change is change. And because of that, we look for the good in it, but we're also using wisdom, and that we don't buy into everything. Just because a certain company has a new phone doesn't mean I get every new edition. You agree?
Absolutely. By the way, I do need to replace my phone, though. It's 5 years old. I shouldn't really say that. There are probably hackers watching this right now, but it is time to replace it. But I agree with you. You can't replace the phone every year.
Yeah. So back to 2025. A lot of it is about potential. So I love to have notes, even though you asked me not to. But this idea of potential is an amazing thing. That is possibilities, capabilities. And we do believe this as people of faith, that all things are possible. So I have a question to you, David Sams. Do you still believe in the fact that all things are possible and we have a lot of potential?
I think that things are way, way above our pay grade as far as possibilities are concerned. I think that, I mean, I've gone through things where, you got to get kicked out of the nest for God to reveal the possibilities. My wife the other day told me, we're dealing with an issue, and she told me that she said it's time to start thinking. What was it, Denise?
Think the impossible.
Yeah, she said start thinking the impossible.
Yes.
Right.
I like
And
that.
I need my wife now, and Denise, for no other reason, for my memory. So I mean that comes in handy too. But yeah, start thinking the impossible.
Yeah. So anybody that's listening to this, whenever you hear Denise's voice, just know that's the voice of wisdom for me and David Sams.
Thank you.
Denise and I worked together off and on for about 30 years as of this coming year. Wow.
No, I love the way you guys work together. You guys are like when Regis and Kathy Lee were at the best.
Right. Oh, hey, by the way, I love that. Tell us about that piece of art behind you.
So there's actually a piece of art back there, and it's Nelson Mandela. I was at Mandela Square in South Africa, and I was doing the Mandela pose, and he says, "I never lose. Either I win or I learn. Either I win or I learn." And that was done by our good therapist friend's partner.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Look
She
at that.
painted.
Yeah. Well, I recognize the face there.
Yeah, that's my face. Okay, but let's talk about potential,
Yeah.
possibilities,
Let's talk about it.
capabilities, what is possible. And here's what I write. Watch. I have found in coaching people that much of our potential is hidden. The word hidden means concealed, not visible, and covered. So, what has been covered, people, that we can uncover for 2025 to give you a better year? What do you think about that?
Amen. Amen. And how do we go about that? How do we open our minds, our hearts, to think like that?
Okay, so I really believe this. Have you ever locked your keys in your car?
Oh, no, never. I've never lost my keys. I've never lost them. I never locked them in the car. Of course, I have.
Okay, so we've all lost our keys and a few times locked our keys in our cars. So only on probably two occasions did I need a locksmith, a locksmith. So I think that a lot of people's potential is locked. So to unlock something means to open it, to unfasten it, to release it. So I think that one of the things people need is to unlock their potential. They need to set it free, unfasten it, to open it. And part of that is to let themselves be okay with moving forward. I think because of regret and shame, a lot of people are not okay with the good things that God's trying to bring them.
Wow. Yeah. No. And as you know, I've had to get through that myself in the past. Is both the regret and the shame, the heartache, the what ifs, the why me's. Yeah. It's tough to get through that, and sometimes it's tough to get through that yourself. You need to reach out for help.
Yes, no doubt about it. In fact, I think a lot of it is reaching out to help and for help. And that's one reason that you are on social media, on the radio, somewhere. David Sams is talking 24 hours a day. And because it's releasing people. And you know this by all the testimonials that you're getting, that words can release people. Tell us about that on some of the listeners and what they're saying about some of the segments that you've had, and they've actually been unlocked.
Well, being in this genre of radio that we have with a radio show, Keep the Faith, which is primarily contemporary Christian radio, we offer a lot of hope and encouragement for people. We play songs, we play great stories, we play great inspiring thoughts from thought leaders such as yourself. But, during the pandemic, we realized that we wanted to actually engage with people who were reaching out for help. It's one thing to offer them inspiration. It's another thing to give them tools. And I know that's what you do a lot with your coaching and with the
Yes.
things that you offer through your website and through your organization. And it's one thing that we are now doing through our therapy service.
Yes.
We have over 30,000 therapists that are available to folks at therapy.cc, and that CC's for custom care. And
Yes.
and we want the other thing is that we wanted to give them the opportunity to not only have the ability to talk with somebody, a professional, but also to also get cognitive behavioral therapy and to go deep and to figure out what it is that triggers them. So that they can push through that. So, yeah, I would encourage anybody to check out your website. And that story, by the way, folks, with an E.
Yeah, so timstory.com. But I want to talk about therapy.cc for a minute because, in this whole idea of potential, we all have potential for 2025. But I write here, when your potential is concealed, we must find a way to discover it. It must be found, understood, and then utilized. And a lot of people's potential is not found because it's hidden under all your messes. That's what therapy has done for me, helped me to get through some of the messes, right? To get to the miracles, and has done for you. So with therapy.cc, you have created a platform in which people can speak to an individual that is somebody that is trained to help you work through some of the mess and the madness and get you to some of the miraculous ways God wants you to live.
The best folks in the world, the best sports players, the golfers, everybody has a coach. Right? Nobody
Yeah.
does it on their own. I mean, that's what you're known for. I mean, my gosh, you've worked with the late great Quincy Jones, Robert Downey
Yes.
Jr. I mean, the list of celebrities you've worked with, and the list of CEOs, movers and shakers around the world. I mean, these are all top 5-star folks that have come to you, that have worked with you, that have been not only inspired by you, but you've given them given them tools that a lot of them had. They just didn't know they had them. You had to bring it out in them. So what is it when somebody comes to you and says, Tim, I need help? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, I think that there's 8 primary areas of your life. Amongst them is your mindset, your physical, your spiritual, your job, your finances, your personal relationship, your family relationships, your social life. And so you have to then pinpoint what is that area that you are struggling in. So the first thing you do is you have to take inventory. Okay. You take inventory of the area that you're being challenged in. Because I think, David, a lot of times it's somebody's mindset that they're challenged in, and that mindset is bleeding over into their marriage. So, as a coach, then I got to work on the mindset, which your mindset is yours to set. So, I got to make sure that your mindset is okay, not just strength of mind, but clarity of mind. And this is what I find with a lot of multitaskers, even like yourself. You have to fight to keep your mind clear. And that's one reason the walking, when you were walking around the world at one point, and maybe you'll explain to people what I'm talking about, I think that that is one of the clearest that you've ever been. because you were just walking and meditating and praying, and there was a lot of clarity. Talk to us about the mindset and when you were walking so much.
Well, during the pandemic, I was single at the time, and as were millions and millions of other folks around the world. And, they told us we couldn't go see our friends. We couldn't see our parents. We couldn't go to church. We couldn't go, out on the town, nothing.
Yeah.
And so after a week or two of that, and by the way, I live in Tennessee. I don't live in California, so it certainly wasn't as bad here. But yet, at the same time, people were scared. And, there were all kinds of things floating out there. And even when you wanted to grab a bite to eat, they either had to bring it to you and leave it on your doorstep, or you went through a drive-through and you had to have a mask on. It was just crazy stuff. But I found, the first thing I did is I decided to get out of the house. I couldn't stay in the house, stare at a wall, and be in isolation. And I thought, you know what? This is one time in my life I'm going to go out. I'm going to look at God's creation. I'm going to walk around, and I'm going to look at the trees, listen to the birds, because the birds weren't wearing a mask. I mean, they were flying high. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to walk it off. And that's what I did. I started at 2 miles a day, went to 4, then went to 6, and went to 8. At one point, the first year, I walked the distance from Nashville to the Santa Monica Pier. I mean, It was amazing. By December 31st, I had hit the exact mileage that it would take to walk from Nashville to now this is around my neighborhood and around, here in the Nashville area. I didn't actually walk from Nashville to Santa Monica. But then the second year, I walked the distance from Nashville to London, to the UK. So over 2 years, I walked the distance. I walked the distance from Santa Monica to the UK, and of course I dropped a lot of weight, which I gained back some when I got married and got lazy again. And the pandemic was over. But man, I'm getting that back out there again. I'm doing it again because there's nothing that gives you better clarity than to walk off that stuff. And just have that time with God. Have that time with your favorite motivators via podcast, and just have that time with yourself.
Okay, so I'm loving what you're saying. So I'm going to throw out a quote here. Today's decisions are tomorrow's realities. Today's decisions are tomorrow's realities. So when David Sams chose to walk, and at first, it was new to him to walk those lengths, that distance, but it became the reality later, and that was of clarity, new thoughts. There was a real joy in you because we talked a lot when you were on these walks, and it opened you up to new thoughts, new ideas, and new discoveries.
And one other thing it did. It allowed me to reconnect with people via the phone that I had not talked to in years. I know you and I would talk. My therapist and I would talk. I think I had more therapy sessions walking than I had in person. I mean, it was crazy. And I got to reconnect with people that I really had not spoken with in 10, 15 years. And that recharged my batteries.
Yeah. And can I tell you another thing that you know about walking? Because I just walked an hour this morning, is you see things that you don't see when you drive. Like, for instance, like I saw a squirrel running across and then hiding in a bush, and then you notice the pavement. Sometimes it's straight, sometimes it's crooked. There's a lot of little obstacles you got to look out for, right? So the walking journey is so much different than the bicycle journey and the car journey.
Amen. I mean, you see things. I'll tell you one thing that one of my favorite things to do is to walk at night.
Yeah.
And I live a place where I can actually do that. But I walk at night, and it's so quiet. There are no cars. I mean, I may have one or two cars an hour that drive by me.
Yeah.
There's something special about. So if you do walk, I would encourage you to mix it up, add some variety. Don't think, oh, I've got to do this exact walk the exact same way every day.
Yes.
And to where you get bored with it.
Okay, let's do something with this statement here.
Yeah.
If you don't do something with life, life will do something with you.
Oh,
If
that's
you don't do
great.
something with life, life will do something with you. And I think that when you decided to walk during the pandemic, you inspired me. And what I did, I started walking, and then I also put a personal gym in my garage. Because if I didn't do something with life, life was going to kick my booty and do something with me, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I started having people who are watching my walkathon online. I started having people come over and say, they'd reach out to me and say, "Can I walk with you?" And I think I had close to over 50 people during the pandemic that actually I said, "Hey, yeah, come over here, meet me here. We'll walk." It's so funny because, I'm getting up there in age, and I'd have these 20-year-olds come over and
Yes.
walk with me, and I'd get about 2 miles down the road, and they were about 20 feet back. And of course, I'd go about 4 miles out, and then I'd turn around and come back, and they were like wanting to turn around about a mile or two into it, and I go, "Nope, come on." So I felt pretty good out walking 20-year-olds during that time. But you know what? It gave me the opportunity to mentor to a lot of people. They were really mentorship walks, and that was so much fun. I got so much out of that, and I still have some of those people remind me of that.
Yes. So if you don't do something with life, life will do something with you. So that is for 2025 too. So we have the sight to a great year. You have the right to a great year, but there's going to be a bit of a fight. Talk to us about that fight. It could be in the mindset. It could be in the spirit world. Talk to me about the contention, the fight.
Yeah, wow. How timely is this conversation? Well, we're dealing with some of that right now on the business side of things, and we're dealing with some of that, and the whole industry changed, the whole radio world, it's just not the same as it was 5 or 10 years ago, which
Yeah.
which I think is fine. By the way, how many people actually have a radio in their house now? I mean, it's like we have smart speakers that we stream. Do you have a radio in the house? A physical radio?
I have a radio in the house. I do not.
Yeah. See, I mean, when you really think about it, the radios we have right now are on our phones, and they are on streamers, which actually
Yeah.
comes from something uniquely different than, like a radio tower. It's. I'm not going to get into all the technology stuff, but there's so much
Yeah.
change going on in the industry, and everything is moving over to the digital side of the world. And of course, that impacts all of us in the way that we do things, in the way that we do business, in the way that advertisers want to support things, et cetera, et cetera. Well, at any rate, the fight right now is, there's a part of where we're at in, just overall business where we're in the fourth quarter, we're down 2 scores, and there's, 4 minutes left in the game.
Yes.
And, you got to look at things differently. You can't go out with the same playbook. You got to change it up. And that's kind of where that's where the fight comes in right now. I mean, I think that as a country, we're kind of going through that. It's like, how do we change things up a little bit, regardless of how you believe or what side of the spectrum you're on? Nobody likes paying $10 for eggs.
Yep.
Nobody likes inflation going through the roof, and it happens regardless of what your political beliefs are. It's time to change things up and look at things differently.
Okay, so let's talk about this fight for a minute, because I think that many times people think that it's always grit, or it's something physical, or something where you have to march or break through a barricade. I think a lot of times it's you fight with wisdom, you war with wisdom. So you're very much aware of this book called The Art of War, and the whole idea is warring with wisdom. But if you read through the book of Proverbs, that's what it is. It's about making chess moves with wisdom. And I think that we have learned this over the years, David, with me and you, is that it's not by might nor by power, but it's by His Spirit. This is a war in the area of wisdom.
Hey Tim, I've joked with some people lately. I said I didn't realize that I've moved into the Obi-Wan Kenobi stage of life.
Yes.
It really is. It really is a different place, and I think that that's why even when you get into an issue where things are a little, things are, they're just not the same. Things are a little shaky in some instances, it's unstable, and you've been around long enough to realize that we'll get through this, we'll push through this, we'll get to the other side of this. God will make a way where there's no other way. We will, God, as my dad always said, God will take care. And you and I have been through it so many times, and we've seen so many people around us go through it, that we realize that there really is truth in that.
Yes. I like to use my gift for a second as a life coach and just help you with what David and I are saying, that there are benefits to a clear vision. And one of the benefits of a clear vision is it gives direction. A vision acts as a compass, directing your daily decisions and efforts towards achieving your long-term goals. So David would tell you the same thing, that you got to have a clear vision. It gives you direction. Let me give you another one. It also helps you have accountability for your decision making. Having a vision enables you to evaluate your current actions against your long-term goals, and also gives you a yardstick to measure whether your daily choices are moving you closer or further away from your intended goals. And David, tell them how important accountability is in getting to where we need to be.
Oh, accountability is, it keeps me accountable. Without having accountability or an accountability partner, you kind of waver. It's like, you know what? It's not that really important to follow the game plan or follow, I don't want to say a rule book, because rules are made to be broken. But at the same time, I know just having the partner in life I have now, I feel so much more accountable than when I was just sort of
Yes.
floating out there. And I feel accountable. I've always felt accountable to my faith and to God. I've really felt accountable to my parents. I've never wanted to let them down, but I haven't been so accountable to myself at times. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll let myself get away with this. And I think that's one of the biggest sins that we have is not being accountable to ourselves, knowing what we know, what we have to do. We know how to do it, but yet it's like, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow, or yet, you know what? I'll let it slide this time.
I love what you're saying. I think the accountability partner is so paramount in all of our lives. You have a wonderful one in your amazing wife, and I love watching you guys work together, because when we came into your home recently and we did some recording, she was there just supporting us in every way, and that is something that is quite a blessing, isn't it?
Oh, it's such a blessing. Something I prayed for a long time, and fortunately, God didn't give up on me, and I didn't give up on love. So, I know many folks have, and I know many folks believe that it's just not in store for them. But that's where you gotta believe. You gotta believe in that miracle. You gotta have that miracle mentality. You've got to just understand that sometimes it's about not about your timing. It's God's
Yes.
timing. We're going through something right now where it's like, we can see that, man, God's timing. We got to have faith in God's timing because it's not about ours. So let's talk about that a minute. Let's talk about timing.
Yes. Well, I think when you think about timing, mostly in Scripture, you have to go to Ecclesiastes, where it talks about there's a time and a season for everything. And it talks about there's a time to be silent and a time to speak. The word silent there means where life is at a whisper or a hush. And we don't like those silent seasons. We like to live life out loud. So that's Ecclesiastes chapter 3. There's a time to be silent and a time to speak. But I've been saying for years that the season of silence, we can turn it into a library and a sanctuary. A library of learning and a sanctuary for going deeper in God. When I talk about that, David, what goes through your mind?
Timing is probably the greatest key
Yes.
to the treasure. I have, my timing was so off at one point in my life. I don't know if I've ever actually publicly revealed this, that it cost me $35 million. Okay. And I know people are going, what in the world? Who is this guy? Well, I launched a little show called The Oprah Winfrey Show, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy back in the day. And if I would have, and I was a young kid, and I thought, man, you know what? I got to go out and conquer the world on my time. And the bottom line, if I would have been just a little bit more patient, I would have, I would have cashed in, and I would probably, unfortunately, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd have an island someplace. So
yes, you would have an island next to Richard Branson.
But you know what? I look back on it now, and it's like, how many people can say that? How many people can say that they've lived that adventure in life and learned from it? And by the way, I've had so many more. Not from a monetary standpoint, but from a life experience standpoint, I've had so many more rich experiences by not having that $35 million, by getting to know people that I would have never gotten to meet. I would never met you unless I would have had Keep the Faith. So God puts me in Christian radio, and when you're in Christian radio, you're not exactly Richard Branson, and you're not exactly iHeartRadio, so to speak. But you know what? The people you meet, the spiritual leaders you meet, the amount of inspiring, just movers and shakers, and thought leaders, and people who are changing the lives of so many people through Christ. The people that are brought to Christ, and people that are helped through different programs like we're doing. I mean, the list goes on and on. How do you keep track of those?
I agree with you. So we're both saying the same thing. So David, I think that we both would agree that wealth and riches are different to us now at this stage of our life than it was to us in our 20s and 30s. Because I remember when you were doing the Oprah Winfrey Show, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy, and you were living a very fast-paced, fast-moving life. A lot of very powerful people around you, just as there are today. You're around the most powerful people. But I think that this idea of wealth and riches, by the grace of God, you still have them in many ways. You have it in your relationship with your wife. You have it in your relationship with your staff. You have it in the arena of being able to help hundreds of thousands of people through Keep the Faith. You have it in therapy.cc. So the wealth and riches have remained, and they're growing. And who knows what's going to happen on the financial end? All it takes is one little God idea to turn it all around.
Yeah, that's very true. And God's ideas are so much bigger than what we can comprehend. And I've seen that happen over and over and over again. I know that you have too. Let me ask you, for somebody watching this right now, saying, "Boy, I'm glad these guys have their lives together." Boy, aren't they great? Aren't they
Yeah.
wonderful? And they're sitting back and saying, "You know what? God just totally forgotten about me. I'm nowhere in this picture. I'm nowhere to be found. I have no idea what it's like to have the kind of kinship, the kind of friendship, the kind of outlook on life that these guys have." What would you tell that person?
I would say that truly we are all plain hurt. We're all plain injured. And so social media can make us look a lot better than things are because they have different filters. You can filter yourself and make yourself look almost flawless. And we can do that through the lifestyles that we project and portray. But I think one thing about me and David Sams is that we've been a little more transparent than most. And I think that's one reason so many people are following us. And we draw, David, a lot of people that would not follow traditional Christianity. Because I think that a lot of people that have been spiritual Christian leaders have put themselves as on a pedestal as though they are not in recovery. So I am in recovery. I still work through my childhood of losing my father when I was 10, and I still work through a pain of divorce, and that divorce took place 20 years ago. So I'm okay with the fact that I have faults, flaws, and failures, but God's grace is sufficient.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, "Hey, don't put me on a pedestal because I fall off a lot." And
Yeah.
I just I don't want a title. I don't want to. It's funny. I mean, you're not only an author, you're not only a motivational speaker, a world shaker, but you're also a pastor. And
Yeah.
I never see Reverend Tim Storey.
No.
And and by the way, the guys that do that, that's great. I mean, that's fine. I find I think one of my things is to go where others don't go. We try to find opportunities to spread the message, to spread God's love in ways that others just it's just not their wheelhouse. And you and I go to those places.
Yeah, we go to those places. I'm thinking about Smokey Robinson asked me to go visit one of his friends, and his friend is extremely famous, is as famous as Smokey. He was in the hospital at Cedar Sinai Hospital, and I went and visited this gentleman, and all of us would know his name. And this gentleman said to me, "Tim, I'm so far from God. Please tell God I'm sorry." And I said, "God knows you're sorry." I said, "Because God knows your frame, and He's okay with you. And sure, you've missed the mark like all of us, but God will take you from nowhere to now here." And the man could not stop crying. And he said, "Can you give me a hug?" And this is a legend. And so those are the doors that have opened to David Sams and opened to Tim Story. And I believe the reason God opens them for us is because we really care about all people from all walks of life. And that is the Jesus style. Acts 10:38, Jesus went about doing good, healing all that were oppressed by the enemy.
So, Tim, as we wrap this up, I want to give you the opportunity to let people know where to come to see you this year. I know you're on tour a lot. In addition to
Yes.
your speaking engagements, you're on the what is it? The Aspire conference that's all over the
Yeah, the
country.
Aspire Tour. So aspiretour.com, aspire.com. And we go into various cities. The crowds are amazing. They go anywhere from like 3,000 people to 5,000 people. They bring in various speakers from all walks of life. We talk about your spirit, your mindset, your finances, your job, your family, and it's a phenomenal thing. But I also speak in many, many places. And so if you would just go to timstory.com, you could see where I'm at and what I'm doing.
And that's Tim Storey, STOREY.com. And
Yes.
did you say aspireconference.com?
Yeah, aspiretour.com.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to wrap it up here, and Tim, I know we're going to catch up later on some other things, but I just want to tell you how much I love you, how much I appreciate you, how much I care for you and your team. You've got an amazing team, and as we look at 2025, I know it's going to be a major year of change and a major year of just pushing forward and going where no Tim Storey has gone before, so to speak. And I just want to tell you how proud of you I am and how much I appreciate you being my friend.
Yes, and thank you. And we are real friends and real family. And thank God for Denise, who's keeping us both in line.
Hey,
Easy.
Denise, come over here a minute. Nobody ever knows what Denise looks like, so I'm going to have her have the opportunity to just be on camera here a second. Come over here. Come on, just stick your head in here a second. That's Denise.
That's Denise. So you guys, she is awesome. So she really just helps run so many things behind the scenes. And Denise, thank you for caring and loving people so much that you've given your life as a servant leader to change people's lives. So what are you excited about as we close for 2025? What are you excited about?
New opportunities. It's always a great way to start the year with a great mindset. And so, fresh starts.
Yes. I like that.
And thank you, Tim. Isn't he great? He is a great friend. I just love that guy. And boy, I'll tell you, do follow him at timstory.com on all of the social media platforms. He is a world changer, a world shaker. He's a great author. He's a great motivating speaker, a great pastor, but he's more than anything else, he's a great friend. And he really takes people under his wings, and he just loves all over people and just gives them tools that really you need for your toolbox. So check out Tim Storey. That's Tim Storey, STOREY.com. And by the way, do check out his Aspire conferences. I've seen him in those things before, and I've seen him with an incredible lineup of other speakers. It's a great couple of days. So he's going to be traveling to a lot of different cities and towns this year. So check out those schedules in your area. Okay. And also check out our website. Our radio show website is KeepTheFaith.com. And that's where you can find all kinds of goodies. And of course, if you'd like to listen to more of Contagious Influencers of America, we actually have a website for that, and that's contagiousInfluencers.com. Of course, you can listen to or watch on YouTube or listen to whatever platform you happen to, wherever you get your podcasts, okay? Until next time, Happy New Year. I'm David Sams, and this has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America. Go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living in black and white. See you next time.
I am in Tennessee with my good friend David Sams. Good to see you, David.
Oh, man. This is one of my buddies. We've been buddies for a long time.
So I love this part of America. You love in Tennessee, right?
I love Tennessee. I loved LA, but God just said get on a plane, and that's what I did about 15 years ago. And I still love going back to Southern California to visit, but there's nothing like Tennessee.
So tell us a couple of the shows you worked with in the past. Obviously, Oprah Winfrey Show. Tell us some of the others.
Well, let me see. Oprah, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, just a few little shows, and a few after that. But boy, that was another life ago. But it sure was a good time.
Yes. So I'm loving what you're doing also in the area that I live in, and that is turning the setback to the comeback.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When God brought me here, one thing that we decided to do was to really focus on really meeting the needs of people. And so we started Keep the Faith and Keep the Faith Radio, which is down like 280 stations
That's
from
amazing.
the country on Canada. And it's really great because we give people hope and inspiration, but we always wanted to give them tools,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And because people would cry out for help. So we decided to really, really engage with them and provide folks with therapy,
Yes.
online therapy,
Yes.
therapy that is accessible 24/7, and therapy that is affordable for the whole family.
And I love what you're doing. So Hebrews 11:32 says about the great people of God, it says their weaknesses were slowly turned to strength. And the word therapy, as you know, comes from the Greek word therapon, which means healing. Healing does not always come overnight. And so tell us about what you're doing in the world of therapy.
Well, we started a company called Mind Health Management
Yep.
to provide online therapy for folks and for companies and for organizations. And then we started therapy.cc.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, if you go to online therapy right now, it can cost you hundreds of dollars. And we decided, you know,
An hour.
we decided, how can we do this and make it affordable, not only for an individual, but make it accessible for an entire family.
Yes.
Lives under one roof. So we put this business together. And the way this works is that we sell it to both businesses and organizations, but then to individuals.
Yes.
And so it all balances out. And so for
Yeah.
it's almost hard to say because it's a God thing that we can offer this for less than $100 a month
Yes. So
for the entire family.
So for less than $100 a month, how many sessions will someone get to have with one of the therapists, and it's online?
Well, really, simply put, it's up to the therapist on how many times you meet.
Yeah.
But the average folks will meet about twice a month, 2.5 times a month.
Okay.
So still, I mean, for roughly $100 a month, they're getting a therapist, and they don't have to get in their car and go someplace. And it's just a wonderful thing. And by the way, we have 30,000 therapists on the.
I mean, so I'm loving their work. I'm loving this more than anything you've done, and you've done so many great things because it's healing you guys. We're all going through recovery and discovery at the same time. So could you imagine going to therapy, not having to pay $200, $300 an hour for a therapist, but now we've made it affordable? How do they find out? What is the website? How do they connect with you?
Right now, you just go to therapy.cc, www.therapy.cc, and you can sign up right there. It literally takes you a couple of minutes to fill out something. And then you'll get an email, you'll get a confirmation, and then you'll be put in touch with our concierge. And the concierge will then ask you, what are you looking for?
Yes.
What are your issues? What kind of specialty? Do you want a male, a female? What's your lifestyle? They'll go through this. And by the way, we have both faith-based and we have general mainstream therapists. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I love that. Okay. So make sure all the information's below. Get help. I got help. I have a therapist. He has a therapist. It's helped change my life.
By the way, I want to tell you what really inspired this more than anything is that I desperately needed therapy. 4 years ago? Right before the pandemic. And this man right here, I remember we were having lunch and he said, I have the person for you.
Yeah.
And you got her on the phone. You got her on the phone.
Right there.
And you got her to really part waters and get me in the next day.
Yeah.
And I remember I stayed and went to see her, I think for 6 weeks. I was there like every other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't wait to go to the ATM.
Yeah. Because
I needed it.
to me, you're like a Tom Brady of what you do in media. And you had what I call a life interruption.
Right.
A life interruption is a disturbance that we did not order. It came and it hit you. It hit my friend.
Right.
And so that's why I knew it was urgent. So for some of you, it's urgent. You have a life interruption. All the information below, and we're excited to help you out.